So even at this moment, that truth isn't true for them. And for us, in another few moments, it'll be 6:45, then it'll be 6:50. So even that truth is changing. So that's not the truth that we speak about in satsang. The truth in satsang is the capital T truth. That wherever you are, whoever you are, that nature of the self, that truth doesn't change. So it's an experience of that truth that we come together in satsang for. And we begin with a question that's come in from our global family joining us via the internet. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. Can you think of a time when impossible became possible? Every day. Every day. You know, it's said very beautifully that if you take the word impossible and you just ever so slightly change it, you just add a little space. So instead of I am P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E, it's I am, then space, then P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E, I'm possible. And so it's a matter just of how we think. Now, so much of that which seems impossible is impossible because of our mental framework. Now, yes, of course, there are some laws of nature, right? If you walk off a building, you're not going to fly. If you walk off the roof of a building, you're going to plummet to the ground. I don't want to say it's impossible to fly, but without a contraption, without a parachute, without some kind of, motorized something or other, whatever it may be, it's extraordinarily unlikely. I've certainly never heard of an example of anyone who did anything other than plummet to the ground. Because the law of gravity is pulling us to the ground. So other than laws of nature, right? We plant an apple seed. It's, again, I don't like the word impossible, but we'll say improbable, unlikely, that you're going to get an orange tree sprouting from an apple seed. Law of nature. But gravity, botany, horticulture, agriculture, these tend not to be the things that frustrate us so much. Most of us are not actually frustrated in our lives because we can't fly off the top of a building, or because our apple seed just won't give us oranges. We're frustrated because of our own situations. Personal situations, family situations, relationship situations, career situations, in which we've put this label of impossible on things that really are not impossible at all, but that are just beyond my current way of thinking. And this is where every day I see the impossible become possible. Because so many of us move through the world with these mental constructs. Who we are, what we can achieve, what we are good for, what the universe is going to provide us with. And we function like that. And yet, there's a grace in the universe that if we open ourselves to it, we open ourselves to the possibility of grace. And by grace, I don't mean an orange coming out of an apple seed. I don't mean walking off a rooftop and flying. I don't mean going against the laws of nature that the Creator has imposed, and now suddenly we seem to think that a miracle would be if the Creator went against his or her own laws. But a grace that enables us to transcend who we think we are. If you think within yourself about some way of identification that holds us back, right? So raise your hand if you think that you're just a little too lazy. Raise your hand. Anybody who thinks that they're a little too lazy, raise your hand. Okay? Anybody who thinks they are too irresponsible, raise your hand. Anyone who thinks that they're not quite as smart as they should be, raise their hand. Okay? So, what we've seen is that every one of these had at least 50%. Some of them looked like they were 100%. Now, if I move through the world telling myself I'm lazy, I'm irresponsible, I'm not smart, or I'm stupid, well, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It really does. We've done lots of scientific studies with children and in offices and corporations where they'll tell a teacher, for example, let's say children are entering first grade. The researchers will tell the teacher, these are the children in the class who are really smart. These are the children in class who are really stupid. Now, the researchers have chosen these students randomly. They've never met any of the students. They've never seen any of the students. It literally was a eeny, meeny, miny, mo sort of decision-making process, totally random. Names in a hat, drawing them out. But of course, the teacher doesn't know that. The teacher believes them. Now you fast forward to the end of first grade, and they're giving the students standardized testing. The children who the teacher was told were smart, and of course the students had no idea. Their parents didn't know, the students didn't know. Nobody was being told, oh, you're one of the ones I told was smart, or you're one of the ones I told was stupid. Only the teacher was told, and only the researchers knew the game going on. But at the end of the year in those standardized tests, the children who the teacher had been told were the smart ones scored the highest. The children who the teacher was told were the stupid ones scored the lowest. One teacher, having a preconceived idea of a student being smart or stupid, actually was enough to change that student's experience in the classroom, experience of learning, experience of themselves, such that 10 months later, they performed exactly how that teacher was told they would perform. And it's not just children. They've done the same thing in corporations. Big corporations taking in, new employees. And they've told manager-level people, director-level people, the ones working directly with the staff, by the way, we've done an assessment. We've compiled all of their past, whatnots. These are the ones who chances are going to be your superstars. These are the ones who most likely you're going to want to fire by the end of their contract. And again, within a short period of time, those who the manager was told were going to be the superstars were the ones outperforming those who the manager was told, you're going to probably, there's no juice in them. So this isn't even what we tell ourselves. This is just somebody around us holding a belief about us. Now you think the power of that belief when I hold it, and in my own head, I'm telling it over and over and over again. It's who I become. And so impossible becomes I'm possible when I change my self-talk. When I change how I think about myself. We all would love to be more productive than we are. I don't know anybody who says, oh yeah, I wouldn't take a productivity tonic if there were one. Why not? We've only got a certain number of hours every day. Why not be able to achieve more? So there's nothing wrong with feeling like you would like to have goals and be able to do more, serve more, touch more people. But this idea that I am lazy, that I am to blame, because I'm lazy, I'm irresponsible, mera se kuch hone wale nahi hai. I'm never going to be able to. That's what's damaging. I'll tell you a personal story about that. So, when I first came to India and met Pujya Swamiji, I was 25. And I was a very high achiever academically. I had graduated from Stanford. I was getting my PhD in psychology. I was a straight A student. Okay. But I was also very, very deeply troubled in a lot of ways. And I won't go into all of that tonight, but I was very deeply troubled in a lot of ways, really struggling, really suffering emotionally, internally from things from my early childhood that I was still carrying in my life. And part of that was negative self-talk. I am this, I am that. And when I met Pujya Swamiji, he said to me, not immediately, but within the first few months, he was saying to me, you are going to touch so many people in the world. You're going to touch millions in the world. You're going to be, this great inspiration. And I remember saying to him, thank you very much. That sounds like my mother telling me I'm the most beautiful girl in the class. Like she means well. She's just trying to make me feel better. But obviously she knows and I know I'm not the most beautiful girl in the class. But you appreciate it, ki mato mahe. She's just trying to make me feel better. And so I said to Pujya Swamiji, I said, thank you so much. I so deeply appreciate your kindness. But I know that I'm smart. I know that I can excel in school. I'm not saying I'm utterly worthless, but I also know that I'm not the one through whom millions of people are going to be touched and inspired. I know that I don't have that in me. I've got all of this suffering and struggle, and I'm this and I'm that, and I have this problem and that problem. And he said, you wait and see. And that night, he gave me a book And it was my first book on the Hindu scriptures. And it was a book of the Ramayana. And it wasn't a children's book, like it wasn't a comic book, but it was very easy reading. It was about, 150, 200 pages. It was beautiful yellow cover. It was by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, published by them, and it was written by C. Rajagopalacharya, very, very famous author and thinker. And he gave it to me, and he said, read this. And I stayed awake all night reading it. It read like an adventure novel. And it's the story, of course, of Bhagwan Ram and his wife Sita, who gets abducted by the demon king Ravan. And then this enormous war to get his wife back, but not only to get his wife back, ultimately to vanquish the demons who were terrorizing people. And in the Ramayana, there is a character, a hero, of Hanuman, right? And Hanuman is in the form of a monkey. And I went to Pujya Swamiji the next day, crying, because there's a beautiful moment where Hanumanji gets asked, how do you do what you do? Like, how do you fly across the oceans? And because, of course, in his service of Bhagwan Ram, he did miracles. The impossible was possible. He flew across the ocean. He made himself enormous. He made himself tiny. He carried the Himalayas in his one arm. And he had to reach before the sun set. So he thought, well, I'm a little behind schedule. I'll just keep the sun from setting. He sticks it under his underarm. Right? Lots and lots of miracles. And of course, we know Hanuman was not just an ordinary monkey. He's actually divine. But when he gets asked, how did you do these things? He doesn't say, well, don't you know I'm not just a monkey? I'm divine. He didn't say that. He didn't say, I've got this very special mantra, the making miracles mantra. He didn't say, I take some special vitamin tonic, I work out at the gym, I've got this great trainer. Nothing like that. He said, I just close my eyes and I take Bhagwan Ram's name, I take God's name, I think of God, and it happens. It happens. So I go to Pujya Swamiji the next morning sobbing. And I say, I get it. I get it. It's not about me. It's not me, this role, this story, this sufferer, the survivor of this, the one with these issues. It's not that. It's not even me, the straight A student. It's me as a channel for the divine, that if I'm just devoted to God, it's not me who has to do it, it's God who's going to do it. And if this monkey, by being so devoted to God, if he could achieve these types of miracles, then maybe I really can do something beautiful with my life. Maybe I really can be an instrument, a vehicle of service for others. And so the impossible becomes possible when we realize that it's not about where I'm lacking. It's not about the stories I tell myself. It's about letting those go and allowing ourselves to be vehicles, channels for the flow of the divine. Because God knows how to make the impossible possible. We just have to open ourselves to God. as channels of grace, channels through which grace flows. And then every day becomes, I'm possible. Not because of my brute strength or my smarts, but because I'm a channel for the divine. If anyone here has any questions, I would be happy to take them. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. So, I'm Sumit. I have one question that every time we are thinking, there are two voices in the head. So, what are those two voices and how to control them?
There's two
voices. Talking within each us, no? So, for example, when we wake up in the morning, one voice will say, get up. Other will say, no, rest 5 more minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it happens all day. So, anything about it? Yeah, thank you.
So, the two voices, we actually have a lot of voices, way more than two voices. But I love how you've broken it into, just for practical purposes, two. We can think of them as the voice that is propelling us forward. Get up, do your meditation, do your prayers, do your yoga, and then move forward as this channel of the divine. And then the voice is saying, Hare yard kya hone wale, ye dhyan kuch nahi hai. Nothing is there. Keep sleeping. Anyway, tumse kuch hone wale nahi hai. Right? That's holding us back. You're never going to achieve anything anyway. You'll never become anything anyway. You'll never become enlightened. Why bother? Keep sleeping. So there's a teaching, and I can't remember who it's from, but I've heard it several times during my life from a variety of different places, of a similar question that says we've got these two wolves, one wolf on each shoulder, one saying, yeah, get up, meditate, pray, you can do it, you are possible. One guiding us to live according to ethics and values, integrity, our dharma. One voice saying, Hare, keep sleeping, you'll never be anything anyway. Just eat, drink, and be merry, get what you can. Don't bother with values or ethics. These two wolves. We could call them the good wolf and the bad wolf. The light one, the dark one. And the question gets asked, which one wins in this battle? Which wolf wins? And the answer is the one you feed. Because if you've ever seen a fight between two dogs, two wolves, well, clearly the one who's well fed is going to win. The one who's starving, who's emaciated, doesn't have a chance. And so when we've got these two voices, it's not random. It's not like based on our, stars this morning, one voice is going to win out. When we speak about sanskaras, or we speak about, scientifically we'll say neural patterning or neural networks, or you can even think about it just as habits. In a very simple way, just think about it as a habit of living, a habit of thinking. Well, whatever we do, we become much more likely to keep doing it. Whatever we do, it creates a sanskara, a groove, you can say, in our awareness, in our life, in our way of living. So every morning that I get up, I'm actually more likely to get up the next morning. we think the opposite. We think, अच्छा just आज ही मैं सोते रहूंगी. For tomorrow I'll feel very energized and tomorrow I'll get up. But the truth is, if you don't get up today, you're very unlikely to get up tomorrow. And this is where we lay these sanskaras, where we feed the one we want to win. And if you know you're not going to get up, for whatever reason, you know that I am just not a morning person. I'm an evening person. Okay? Don't kill yourself. Sleep in. Meditate in the evening. Because the truth is that you're actually doing yourself more harm by setting that alarm every day when you know कि संभव नहीं है कि मैं उठने वाले हूँ. In that case, stop setting yourself up for failure. Because then what happens is if every night I say, I'm going to get up tomorrow, and every morning I hit the snooze and I never get up, then slowly when I start saying in the night, I'm going to meditate, my own voice is like, Are yaar, tumhe pata hai ki we are not getting up in the morning. And then what happens is my whole way of thinking about myself changes. Then suddenly I am someone who's lazy. I'm undependable. I make promises and I don't keep them. Mere se kuch nahi hota. And that becomes very dangerous. So if you really know, I'm trying to give up sweets and I just can't stop. Fine. At least enjoy them. Right? Eventually, at some point in your life, a doctor is going to say to you, look, either you give up the sweets or you die. And then you have a different choice to make. But at least right now, if you can give them up, wonderful. You'll be stronger, you'll be healthier. But if you can't, stop telling yourself, tomorrow, kal se no sweets. Because then you are just setting yourself up to feel miserable every day. And you're setting yourself up to tell yourself, I am someone who doesn't fulfill my promises. So when you set goals, we're getting to New Year's time, people make New Year's resolutions. When you set goals, set something that isn't so easy that you're already doing it, but also that isn't so far off that you've got a very, very slim chance of fulfilling it. There's no rule that says you have to go from 9 a.m. waking up to 4 a.m. overnight. That December 31st, you're getting up at 9, but from Jan 1st, I'm going to be up at 4 a.m. Go from 9 a.m. to 7 a.m. February 1st is also an auspicious date. Go from 7 a.m. to 6:30. March 1st is auspicious. Go from 6:30 to 6. Because then you actually are going to be able to fulfill it. If you say, I'm going to totally stop eating sweets, no sugar, no fried food, no maida, no white flour, well, chances are, the minute that you have, one bite of a cookie, then the mind says, Are chalo, now it's over. Now let me eat the whole box and have a pizza as well. Right? There's a syndrome they call in psychology the what the heck syndrome. And what it means is, I've made a decision that I'm going to not eat sweets, okay? Then I had a bite of a cookie. Someone made them, they were saying, please, 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 just taste it. Now I've broken my vow. So I decided, what the heck, anyway, I've broken my vow. Up to today is over anyway. So let me eat the whole box. What the heck? Who cares anyway? Today doesn't count. So you want to avoid situations like that. They're damaging not only physically, but they're damaging mentally. So you set goals that are reachable. They're a reach, but you're going to grab it. And you do it with compassion and love. That says, okay, I'm going to get up every day. But if you find yourself sleeping in one day, you give yourself a break. You know, in the game, is Monopoly a game that people in India play also? Huh? Raise your hand if you've ever played the game Monopoly. Just have an idea of who knows what I'm talking about? Okay, good. So in the game of Monopoly, there's something called a get out of jail free card, right? And it's a very good thing to have, because if you get stuck in jail, then you can't keep accruing things and winning the game. So if you get a get out of jail free card, it's great, because then if you get stuck in jail, you give the card and you are out and you get to keep playing. And it's very good to give yourself a handful of kind of get out of jail free cards. Whenever you start a new habit, a new vow, a new resolution. So that if you make a vow that you're going to get up early, and then today you've slept in, don't decide it's over. Say, okay, this I'm using my get out of jail free card. Today will still count. I get to still be in my winning streak. Give yourself a set number of them. Maybe 3 a month, something like that. So that if you find that you've broken it, whatever the vow may be, that at least you don't end up saying, "Are what the heck, forget it, it's over. I'm useless, I'm worthless." And then keep feeding that wolf that you want to win. Keep laying these sanskaras. And slowly, slowly, they will become habits. The goal is not to go through life just with willpower. The goal is to make these things a way of living. And to do so takes some time. It also takes some compassion with ourselves. And then it takes just some very focused intention and attention. Which wolf am I feeding? Which am I giving my attention to? And that's the voice that wins out. Beautiful. Yeah. आपको एक माइक दीजिएगा.
Hello. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
I have 2 sets of questions.
Okay.
Number 1, is God there? Number 2, in many books, in all of the religious books, we read that destiny is final. Everything is planned by God. But in our own life, there is a conflict. Sometimes we confuse whether we should do our duty or we should rely on destiny. So
Beautiful.
These are the 2 conflicting theories.
Okay.
So my first and second question. And
Done.
thanks a lot. You are doing a noble job. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
So let's take the second question first, and then end with the first question. It'll be a beautiful place to end satsang this evening. So in terms of this destiny, free will dilemma, when we say that things are destined, most of us assume that to mean that they were written by God sometime infinity ago, and we have no say in it. Okay, that isn't true. If that were true, then everything else we are told in our scriptures would make no sense. Why would we be taught the right way to live? Why would we be taught how to fulfill our dharma? Why would we be taught to meditate? Why would we be given yam and niyam, or commandments, depending on how we think of them? Why would we do puja? Why would we find a guru? Why would we do anything other than sit on a couch, eat potato chips, and watch TV while our destiny appane aap unfolded? It would make no sense. If everything was written in a way that we have no control, well then theek hai. Just sit down. Eventually your destiny is going to pick you up anyway if you have no control. Why bother setting an alarm? If it's your destiny to wake up, you'll wake up. If it isn't, you won't. Right? None of everything else we are taught would make any sense. This is where we have to re-look at the nuances of the way that destiny and karma intersect. So karma means action. The word karma means action. It is what we do. Now, every action has a result, right? Spiritually, we speak about it as the law of karma. Physics, we're told, right? Newton says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Same thing. What that means is then that as are my actions, so will be that which comes back to me. Now we have 3 different types of karma. And I'm not going to go into depth and detail of all of them, but you can think of them as long-term karma, short-term karma, and immediate karma. So, immediate karma. I pick up a glass of water, I bring it to my lips, I drink. That's an action. The fruit of that karma is that now my throat is wet instead of dry. Okay? Alternatively, I pick up this glass and I pour it on my knee. Fruit of that is, now my knee is wet. In a little while it will become cold and my throat is still dry. Right? Okay. That's immediate karma. I've done an action. In this case, I've done 2 different actions to demonstrate. Each of those actions has a different result. Medium-term karma. I really hate studying, but I sit down every day in school. I pay attention after school. No TV, no phones, nothing till my homework is done. Even though I'm not interested, I hate it, but I do it. Because I know that aage jaake ye mera kaam mein aayega. So every night I study and I end up getting a very good degree. And that degree opens doorways into the jobs and the career for my life. Okay? Medium term. There was no immediate reward. And this is why kids all the time say, "Ade, why do I have to study? I hate it. I'm not interested." They're looking for an immediate reward. And this is where it's so important to help them understand the reward will be there, but not immediately. I know right now you'd much rather be playing baseball or doing anything. But 5 years, 10 years from now, trust me, you're going to be very glad you got the degree, that you finished school. And then we've got long-term karma that goes back even to past lives. Things we've done in past lives that are bearing fruit now. Okay? Now, obviously, we have no control today over what we have done in our past lives. Okay? We have no control over that. So there's not even much point in thinking about that. That is going to bear fruit as and when it will bear fruit. But it doesn't exist alone. Remember, there's also the intermediate and the medium and the immediate karma. All of those three are happening simultaneously. So let's say that a long term from a past life karma is that I'm going to have an accident. Okay. Let's say kilikawahe. That I am going to have a serious accident. But in my medium term karma, maybe at some point I got my horoscope done by a jyotish, maybe, who knows, maybe I just decided to be very careful. And I started making sure that I was very careful with things. I made sure to wear my seatbelt in the car. I made sure to have the driver drive slowly. I made sure to walk carefully, slowly. I went to the gym. I exercised so my bones would be strong. I did everything I could to take care of myself. And I started doing spiritual practices. I found a guru, because we're told that the guru also has the ability to impact your karmic fruit. So I found a guru. Now, all of that isn't going to undo my past, but it will mitigate it. So maybe instead of a fatal car accident, or an accident where I trip and I fall and my face is smashed and I've got brain damage, maybe instead I stub my toe, or I end up twisting an ankle. Okay? So this is how those three can intersect. Or let's say that from my past karma, there's something that is going to happen that I'm really going to suffer from. I'm going to lose a loved one. Or I'm going to lose all my money, or my house is going to burn down. In some way, something is really going to happen that I'm going to really suffer loss from. Well, let's say that for whatever reason, several years ago I decided to start meditating. And I started a spiritual practice, and I started reading scriptures and meditating and coming to satsang and doing spiritual pursuits, so that I got deeper and deeper inside. And of course, then that brings us into the immediate as well. In the moment, I'm anchored, I'm grounded. Now, that may not stop this loss from happening. But instead of me being shattered by it, instead of me becoming so depressed that I want to kill myself because of it, I'm actually able to withstand it. I'm able to move through it. The loss still happens, but its impact on me is different. So that's how long-term karma plays out. But the vast majority of what we're moving through is not from past lives. It's actually from right here, right now. It's our medium term and our immediate. Those are the two that have the most impact on us. So when you think about destiny, or something being predestined or predetermined, well, I always say right here, right now, is the pre for tomorrow's destiny. Right? You have a choice. He spoke about two voices. You've got a choice. You can be in satsang, or you can be in a bar. Right? Nobody's stopping you. You won't find one in Rishikesh. You'd have to go you'd have to leave the city. But, chalo, taxi mein baith jao. You could be in a bar. Or you could be in satsang. It's up to you. You've made a choice. Now, yes, your long-term sanskaras are going to impact which way you're likely to go. But you have full control. Even if I have gone to a bar every night for the last 10 years, I still have freedom to decide tonight, no, tonight satsang. I still have freedom. This is how people end up getting free from addictions, because they realize even I've been doing the same thing for 10 years, 15 years. Today is a new day. Today, no alcohol. So even your long-term karma is there in terms of the sanskaras. You've got the power to decide. Now, right here then, okay, so either you're in a bar right now getting drunk, or you're sitting in satsang. Now, the impact of that is going to be with you through tonight, through tomorrow. Maybe you'll do something different tomorrow based on what you learned in satsang tonight. Or if you spent tonight getting drunk, maybe you won't even get out of bed tomorrow. So you could say, well, is it predetermined that I was going to have a hangover and not be able to get out of bed? Well, it was predetermined when you decided to go to the bar. That was the pre that determined that tomorrow you're going to have a hangover. Was it predetermined that tomorrow you're going to get up early and meditate? Well, it was predetermined when you came into satsang and made that choice. So everything you're doing, every minute and every moment, you are engaging in karma. And that karma is bearing fruit that becomes your destiny. You are creating your destiny. Your karma is what creates your destiny. Karma and destiny they're one. The sum total of my karma is my destiny. Okay? So, as you engage in karma, you are writing your own destiny. And that's where free will comes in. Lastly, in terms of does God exist? Absolutely. Absolutely. The dilemma is that, of course, if we require the proof to be something that our five senses can understand, or if we require the proof to be something in the jurisdiction of science, then we find ourselves unable to prove it. Okay? So, my eyes can't see God, usually. Not these two eyes, the inner eye can. That's why we put tilak, it's why we work on opening our third eye, to be able to see the divine. But these two eyes usually can't. Can't usually touch God. Can't, with this ear, with my tympanic membrane, can't hear God. Can hear God inside. But my five senses can't taste God or smell God. God doesn't fit in a beaker. Can't tell you what the volume or the area or the weight is. Can't see God in a microscope or a telescope. And so we're out of ways of proving. But that, of course, doesn't mean God doesn't exist. It just means that we're using the wrong way to understand. Okay? Now think about it for a moment. You exist, right? Pakka hai na? You exist. Okay? Now, I know you exist because I can see you. But if I close my eyes, do you still exist? You don't exist. Of course, right. So, I close my eyes. Do you still exist? Thank you. Now, you're too far away for me to touch you. You're too far away for me to smell or taste you. But I still know you exist because you are speaking. But if you stop speaking, do you still exist? Does he still exist? Well, but prove it to me. Right? Now, obviously he exists. My inability to see or hear or taste or touch or smell him is due to my inability. My eyes are closed. I'm sitting really far away from him. That has nothing to do with his existence. It has to do with my limitations. And so the same is true with God. Just because we can't see God or hear God or taste God or touch God or smell God, that doesn't mean God doesn't exist. It's very me-centric, right? If I try to convince people that you don't exist just because I can't, you're no longer evident to me. You know, one of the phases, the very important phases of child development is something we call object permanence. Now, with very, very young babies, in their mind, they are the world. So, if I show this to a very young baby, and then I put it behind my back, and I say, "Where's the paper?" They will say, "Gone." It's gone. As they grow, a few years, they develop something called object permanence, in which they realize, even though I no longer can see the paper, it still exists. My vision of the world is not the only vision of the world. So young babies learn this. But then as adults, we're actually afflicted by the same thing. I can't see God, so he doesn't exist. We're like the baby saying, "Paper, gone." But it's very me-centric, right? I can't see it, so he doesn't exist. So of course God exists. But we have to figure out a way to connect with God other than with these five senses. That's what we have inner senses for. It's what we have inner eyes and inner ears and inner way of knowing. But also, think about love, okay? Do you love her? She's your wife? Yes. You love her? Huh, prove it to me. I don't believe you. Prove it to me. How will you prove it to me? How much does your love weigh? So, I love the love example because we've all loved. Whether romantic spouse love, whether love for our parents, our children, our pets, a tree, we've all loved. But love has the same problem God has. There's no way to prove it other than just the experience, right? Now, if I say to you, "I don't believe you," you're not going to say, "Haan, bilkul sahi keh rahe ho. I guess I don't love you." You know you love her. Main jo bhi kahun, you know that you love her. In the same way, when people know God, it's an experience. And this is why we simply have to pray for people that they have the experience. Rather than trying to convince people that God exists, then you get into all these debates, unwinnable, Like there's no way that you could win a debate proving me you loved her. But why bother? Why bother? What you would say is something probably like, I love her. That is good enough for me. And I pray that you also someday have the experience of love. Then you will know. Right? When children come home from school and they say, boys say, I hate girls, or girls say, I hate boys, I'm never getting married. Boys are gross, girls have cooties. We don't try to convince them otherwise. We don't try to, debate them. Because we understand, till he's 6, 7, 8. Give him a few years. Apne aap ho jayega. Right? You don't have to debate the child. You just wait a little while. You understand. There will come a time when he or she comes home and says, I am in love. And we just know that's happening. So in the same way, we know God, we love God, we don't try to force it down people's throats, but we pray for them and maybe try to help them into experiences in which they can experience God. Beautiful. Have a beautiful night, everyone. If you are here and you're not yet registered for our spiritual retreat, we invite you to do that. It's a beautiful retreat. We're in the first evening of it. It'll go through January 1st, but if you can't stay the whole time, don't worry. It's on just a donation basis. Whatever people feel like donating is beautiful. It includes yoga, meditation, beautiful pujas, arti, satsang, of course, but also talks on yogic philosophy, on Ayurveda, walks in the mountains, and field trips. It'll be a beautiful few days of a very special new blossoming of each of us. So if you'd like to join and you're not yet registered, then should they just go to the office? You can just, from here, you're doing registration right here. Lovely. There will be beautiful sevaks taking your registration right here in the back of the hall. And have a beautiful rest of your evening. And look so forward to being together tomorrow. As I said in the beginning, but for those who came in a little late, apologies for our late start tonight. We will be starting at just right around 6 from tomorrow, and look forward to seeing you all.